They also have like kind of a high view of baptism, which I would associate with a sort of more high church tradition. Like, for example, they locate the moment of salvation in the sacrament of baptism in a way that it's not like in the tradition I grew up in, it was that baptism was more of a thing you did when you got saved to show to like the community, like, hey, I'm part of this. This is something I'm serious about, but it's kind of more or less optional. But for the gemstones, it's not really an optional thing that you do.
I mean, churches of Christ are like that with baptism. Like, I know when my sister was dating a Church of Christ guy, like, so my dad would always bring up, is like, oh, they believe in baptismal regeneration, you know? Like, basically the one difference between them and, like, Southern Baptists, like, theologically, and also they don't use instruments.
Right. Yeah.
And, you know, other than that, it's really just coming from different directions. Baptists being more, I don't know, coming out of the Protestant Reformation. Church of Christ comes out of 20th century restorationist movements. But I mean, I don't think the gemstones are supposed to be any denomination in particular.
Yeah. I think the gemstones are supposed to be a pastiche of evangelicalism in America. Yeah. And you know, like it pulls specificities from different types of evangelical, but I think, if you start getting into like, are they this denomination or this denomination, it's like, you know, it's
probably
kind of everything. Yeah, they're probably non-denom, and that's probably why they're so loosey-goosey with so much, like you mentioned, them baptizing in the name of Jesus and not in the name of Trinity in that opening scene of the first season.
I think by virtue of being like televangelist, like I know they come out of certain churches and stuff, but that feels like they don't really emphasize denomination, and a lot of the theology just winds up getting filtered through the personality of the pastor. Like, so it is just the revelation according to Eli Gemstone. But I was thinking this season, because like going into the Y2K thing, because like Eli seems pretty genuine when he says, I talked to Jesus and he said the world is coming to an end. And I noticed there's kind of, am I reading kind of maybe a compartmentalization of his faith and business aspects, but it's like at this point you kind of see how like the two talk to each other, right? Like, so it's like, Jesus told me this. Oh, it turns out it's a good business thing.
Well, and them making money is then, you know, evidence of God's providence for them, which is, I mean, like, so much the theme of the whole show is like, why wouldn't these people believe they're chosen by God with everything going right for them all the time, constantly? You know? Yeah.
The Y2K thing was interesting, though, because, like, I did a paper on the Matrix for, like, a film class in college, right?
Oh, yeah.
I talked about the Matrix as an eschatological text.
Oh, nice. There you go.
One of the things I talked about was the month it came out, the second and third best religious paperback bestsellers were both about Y2K in the context of biblical prophecy.
Ah, interesting.
Like, this was like a huge deal within the evangelical world of the time.
Yeah. I never made that connection before, that like the Matrix and Left Behind are both products of the same cultural moment.
Oh yeah, Left Behind was like the number one.
And then then you got the Y2K like nonfiction. I
don't remember if we were recording when I had made the comment that it's felt like the world has been ending for 2 decades already, but like that's kind of the thing, right? Like so much of our media is that, and that's why I found the Y2K stuff really interesting, though, because it was this despair at anticipating the end and it never coming. And you know, even Amy Lee talks about it when she admits, which we'll get to here when we start actually going through it, but like Amy Lee admits that she kind of never believed it was going to end, but she also like got caught up in the fantasy of it ending because it meant to return to simplicity and shit like that. And I think that speaks to like a type of aspect of the culture in the last few decades, is this just like waiting for it to fucking end. It's the Mark Fisher thing, right? Since we can't imagine anything beyond the capitalism, the world we live in currently, what do? Well, you just pray to God it'll finally end and we get to live in, zombie apocalypse world or whatever.
I do.
And
it's an interesting contrast between Amy Lee and Peter, right? Because Amy Lee like romanticizes the end.
Yeah.
She talks about it as like something, this return to simplicity, like you said. Mm-hmm. Whereas Peter already lives simply.
Yeah. Well, he's living as if the zombie apocalypse is already happening or whatever. You know what I mean? He's living in a compound with a bunch of guns.
But I mean, even during 2000, like the year 2000, right. Flashback, like before he gets into the militia shit, he's still like, his family is poor and he's preparing for this as like a serious threat to his family's well-being, not as like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if we could just, stop caring about all this bullshit?
Oh man, this is going to be a good episode. Hey everybody, welcome to the third installment in the Righteous Gemstones series. The final one for now. I think we'll might reconvene with everybody once season 4 comes out. But and so we got the usual crew here. We got James. Hello, James.
Hello. I got new soda. Got new soda. Big Red.
What's the new soda? Oh, it's a Big Red?
Big Red
Hell
Zero.
Yeah.
You can't get them around here. I had to get it shipped in.
Oh man, my girlfriend loves Big Red, but you can't get it very many places here. So anytime we're at a gas station, there's a Big Red. We always grab one. I've never heard of a Big Red Zero though. Yeah,
it's got all the aspartame that I need to be a big strong boy.
And we got Josh as well from the usual crew.
Hey everybody. I survived 3 days of a music festival and made it to an after show at 35 years old. Please congratulate me. Yeah, let's talk about a funny TV show.
And for this episode, I brought on who I'm going to say is our Dixie correspondent. Is that what we said we were going to say, Joseph?
Sure.
It's Joseph. If you've been listening to Fruitless for before I went on a long hiatus, Joseph was in a distant episode of Fruitless. So this is his return, much awaited return.
Yeah. I live in Memphis. I've lived here for about a decade now. I've started saying y'all and junt and things like that. And season 2, they flash back to Memphis wrestling in the 60s, which I don't know anything about, but like I know Memphis and I know the South.
Yeah.
It's a deeply Southern show in a lot of ways. Like,
wait,
Danny McBride is from what, South Carolina?
Something like that. I think we had looked that up.
One of the Carolinas for sure. Definitely it's reflected in the show.
For sure.
So I thought it'd be fun to talk about.
Did you say jaunt?
Junt.
Oh, junt.
It's like, how people in Philly will just say John to mean a thing?
Yeah, that's what I thought you said. But
no, it's like the Memphis equivalent of that. Like popularized by like 3-6 Mafia and like some other types. Okay. It's just
all right, awesome.
Rhymes with the C word.
Georgia. Georgia is where Danny McBride was born.
Okay.
There we go. And Virginia, North Carolina. He was all over the South. Anyway, so we're gonna talk about season 3 of this. And yeah, the show is really Southern. And so I thought that would be fun to bring Joseph on for this one here for that reason. You'd mentioned there were like a handful of like Southern specific jokes that have been in the previous seasons to me at one point. That most people might not have caught. So yeah, and there's some subtle stuff about it too, because like for instance, I was talking to Kelly, my girlfriend who's from Texas, and we had just been unrelatedly talking about the role of the steakhouse in a southern small town as like that is the fancy restaurant for the town. And so I was telling her, I was like, oh my god, you would love Righteous Gemstones, because I was like, that's a joke in it. Is like, yeah, what do they, we talked about this last time, what do they do when they make it big and they have all this money? They just rent out the steakhouse once a week.
Did y'all have like your go-to after church lunch spot?
I've had them at times in my life. Yeah, there was a bar and grill in a small town I used to go. I went to a church plant in high school. I went there and there was a bar and grill that we would get burgers at afterwards.
We used to go to this like really shitty Chinese buffet.
Nice.
Which yeah, I can rock with that. Love a Chinese buffet.
I think we were too thrifty to go out after church. That was seen as
yeah. That's that. Oh man, that's that North Midwest. Oh man, there's that austerity.
There's that, and it's like, my family was kind of self-aware of like, the church lunch crowd makes a bad name for Christians. Like that was kind of like a topic of conversation. Is like, oh yeah, like everybody hates the after church crowd at the diner because they're lousy tippers. One thing I'll give to my that pastor I had at that church plant that was really solid of him is he would always yell at everyone to make sure that they tipped really well when they went to that bar and grill, because he was like, we are notorious for not tipping. The Sunday crowd is that way, and I do not want us to be known that way in this town. So please fucking tip.
Yeah. we would always go to a Tex-Mex place.
Tex-Mex. Okay, yeah.
Get like taquitos, but not like the frozen kind. Like they're like, big taquitos.
Oh, nice.
Or,
that sounds awesome.
Like the one vaguely authentic thing they had on the menu was like tacos al pastor, which were not as good as what you can find elsewhere. But they were fine. It was an alright spot.
I appreciate the joys of a mid taco spot.
Oh yeah. Well, I think we're going to continue the tradition we've been doing of going by character arc. So yeah, I guess diving right into it here. The season begins with this was a preview for a Patreon only episode. So check out the show notes if you want to hear more.